Hi. Let's fix the lighting. It's become trendy to say that recycling plastic is a waste of time. It all ends up in the landfill. And this is true. A lot of it ends up in the landfill, even if you put it in the recycle bin. I think that we can solve part of that problem. And the part of the problem we're going to solve today is, what do you do with number 2 HDPE, high density polyethylene plastic, the kind of plastic that we find in milk jugs and we find in laundry detergent jugs, and we also find it in some plastic bags. We're not going to talk about plastic bags today, but with all due respect to Tim Minchin, I have a use for plastic bags as well. So these are milk jugs, and they're made of, when you look at the plastic always has a little triangle with a number in it, or at least it's supposed to. And let's see, here it is. I'll do a close-up later of this. This is number 2 high-density polyethylene plastic, and it is a really durable and repurposable plastic. If you go out in the yard, if you have a sprinkler system, there's a little box that goes into the that goes in the ground with all the valves and stuff. That is probably made out of this kind of plastic. So I save my milk jugs. I have a collection of them in the garage. I string them up on a rope so they don't get out of control. And every now and again, I take some time, like I'm taking today, and I'm just going to record it. Is when you go to repurpose this stuff, you need to get the label off, because if you don't take the label off, it ends up in the final product as a chunk of something that doesn't belong there. So what we're going to do is, I've got about a dozen jugs here today, and we're going to take the labels off of these jugs, and it's not going to take too much water. So what you want to do is you want to get the hot water as hot as you can, and you just let that warm up a bit. Labels that come on things, I used to make a lot of wine, and I had a gathering at my house once a month that a lot of people brought wine to, and so I had a lot of empty wine bottles laying around. And I found that the labels on bottles and many things come in 2 different kinds. There's the ones that are water soluble, and there's the ones that are not water soluble but can be loosened up with heat. So what we've done now is we fill it up past, you see I've got it filled up past the place where the label is, and I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. Now you don't have to do this, but I'm just going to show you this so that you can work on this without making more of a mess. Is I'm going to put the lid back on, and I'm going to take a sharp knife, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick at the edge of the thing. It doesn't take very long, and you can pull it off. It just comes off like that. You'll get if the paper rips, it's a little bit harder to do, but you're just going to pull it off like so. Sometimes they have more than one label. This one only has one. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take the next jug, and we're going to use a funnel, and we're going to take this hot water, because it's still hot, and we're going to put it into the next one. Be careful not to get the label wet, because if the label itself gets wet, it can be difficult to deal with. If it does get wet, don't worry. Just set that one aside, and you can do it another time when it dries out. We're going to use the same water do a whole bunch of jugs here. So this one's done. This is one that had distilled water. You may use distilled water for your iron, your CPAP, lots of reasons, and it doesn't take very long for the heat to start to soften the adhesive. And then once you get one whole side, you can kind of just pull it off slowly. Be patient. The longer we let this, the longer the hot water ends up in here, the softer the softer the adhesive is going to get. That's our second one. Now we're going to go to the next one. Another distilled water bottle. Take your funnel. Take your jug. It's become trendy to say that recycling doesn't work and it's a waste of time. I think of it as a little bit like a scab. You can't pick off a whole scab, but you know, if you pick at the edges of the scab, it bleeds a little bit. Maybe you get a little bit off. Look how quickly this is coming off. Now, this is a milk jug. I want to say something about milk jugs. If you're going to do this, and you decide that you want to, start stashing your empty milk jugs in the garage or wherever, first of all, it's really good to wash them out. You don't just to get the excess, that little dribble of milk out of there, because that's what's going to make it stink. And don't put the cap on it. If you take the cap off, the milk will dry up and it'll just become a little bit of crusty stuff at the bottom of the jug. Let's see, this takes a cap, so we're going to put the cap on here just because if you put the cap on, it just makes it a little bit easier if you accidentally swish it around. It also means you can work on it on its side, which is a little bit easier than trying to show it to the camera like I was doing. So okay, that corner is ripping off, so I'm just going to start at a different corner. This one's being tricky. Okay, this corner is better. You got 4 chances at this, so take your time. You will get it. You will get the touch after you've done 2 or 3 dozen of these things. And I got a little bit of tearing happening there. That's okay. A little bit of paper in the final product is not the end of the world. In this case, we got a little bit of a tearing. We got one more corner to play with, and sometimes you can get that last little bit. Yeah, well, let's keep trying. You can use a razor blade. I'm using a little paring knife. And look, we got the rest of the paper off. Now, you want to work relatively quickly because the water is getting colder as you go. All right, so we'll do this one next. The bottle caps themselves are also often made out of HDPE. In fact, a lot of times the water bottles that you get, the plastic bottle itself is made out of a different kind of plastic whose name I can't remember right now. But a lot of times the caps are made out of HDPE. And the caps are pretty colors, and they can be used to add some accents, or you can just use that for, if you use the whole milk with the red cap a lot, you can. Okay, that's a distilled water. It's got one of these caps, so we can put that on there. There's Here's my labels I've been working on. This one's going to come right off. And we'll go to the next one. Notice I'm using the same gallon. It's not a whole gallon. Cap on it. I haven't usually done the cap thing. I think I just started that today, and let that it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So as I mentioned, there's a couple of different kinds. These tend to be the kind where the adhesive gets softened by a little bit of heat. Now there are other ones, particularly on wine bottles, I've noticed, where what you have to do is you need to soak the bottle itself in water, and after it sits in the water for a little while, the label just falls off. And after a while, you do get a sense for which one is which. Let's see, that one's done, that one's done. This one isn't. I like throwing things around. And when I'm done with this, I will go ahead and I will put them back on my rope. And in another video, I'll show you how to cut it up and get it ready to be melted. Now the melting part, you end up, you can, there's a couple of ways you can go. Now a lot of people get a little worried. They say, wait a second, doesn't plastic have, doesn't it smell? And it does have, when you go to melt the plastic, it does have a little bit of melting. It's a plastic smell. I'm not going to lie to you. There's definitely a plastic smell to it, but it's not the same. It's not the kind of plastic smell that you would get if you tossed this in the fire. It's more of a, oh yeah, plastic. And as long as you do your work, I started this hobby using a toaster oven that I got at a garage sale for $2. That one's done. Yes, we still got these to go. We'll put these over here. This one's got 2 labels. Put these over here. All right, so we got that one. We'll do, this one's apple cider. Sometimes they have 2. And I mentioned a minute ago that you want to rinse these out before you store them. And even if you don't, the process of doing this tends to, it washes it out a little bit, even if you didn't wash it out initially. What gets a little bit gnarly is when you put them away with the cap on. That's a little, when that happens, you open it up and yeah, it smells kind of bad. And again, if you wash it out, it goes away. Now this one only has 1 label. And you can see, I mean, it doesn't take very long for the adhesive to soften to the place where you can start pulling it off. This one's got a little bit of extra, so we'll take my knife and see if we can pick at the edge, pick at the scab. There we go. There's that one. There's that one. All right, you're done. Are you done? Nope, you're not done. We got the last, this one's got some stuff on the outside. We can wash that off later. And you notice I've been doing all of these jugs with the same gallon of water. So it doesn't take a lot of water to do this. And if you really are, if you're really into recycling, I'm sure that the little bits of calcium and the other stuff that's in the milk, I'll bet some of your plants wouldn't mind having that once it cools down. We're going to pick at the edge. I mean, look, I'm not even waiting. I just put the water in. And by the time I'm done putting the water in, the adhesive is already soft. There's that. And now we got some half gallons. Now half gallons obviously don't need quite as much more. The label goes up a little bit higher sometimes, but it's the same deal. Where's my thumb? My funnel's here. Pour the water in here. Don't overfill. Do not let your label get wet. If the label gets wet, just move on. Go to the next one. In worst case, I mean, if you get to the point where you can't get the darn thing off, well, you can always cut around it. You know, you can cut the, later on we're going to cut these up into pieces so that we can melt them in the oven. And by the way, the melting in the oven happens at 350 degrees. And you're going to want to get yourself a pair or two of some nice silicone gloves. All right, this one only has one label. This one has two. Well, I'm going to save that one for a minute. Now this one has, you can see this one has some gunk in the bottom of it because it doesn't smell too bad. It's got some gunk in it. You'll notice in a minute that gunk is going to go away in the process of what we're doing here. Pour that in there. Okay, put the cap on, shake this one around a little bit, see if we can clean that stuff up. That gunk is going to get softened in the process as well. Get this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And again, just pick at the edge, do it carefully, do it slowly, be patient. This water is starting to get a little bit cold, so it's being a little bit trickier, and that's fine. Don't let the knife go down the garbage disposal. All right, last one for this batch today. And a little bit of gunk like that isn't going to be too terrible for your finished product, but as you can see, we got rid of most of it. And this is the last jug we're going to do today. Don't you fall over. And yeah, if you work in the sink, you won't make quite as much of a mess. We're going to do. Don't overfill. Keep your label dry. I'm going to let that sit for a minute because the water's getting not quite so hot. Pick at the edge, pull on it. I'll do some close-ups later. All right. Never a bad idea to shake it around. Did we get everybody? So we ended up today doing, how many did we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-gallon jugs, and 1, 2, 3 half-gallon jugs. That's just what I happen to have. And now I mentioned that I keep them on a rope. All the other ones on the rope have already had this done. And so I'm going to put these on the rope, and so I have a whole rope out in the garage full of that has milk jugs that have been saved, rinsed, delabeled, and ready to go. Now these little rings here, you can just pick off with a knife. If you want, you can just stick the knife underneath there and cut them off. These are kind of nice. As I say, these are usually made out of the same HDPE plastic. When you cut these up, these become easy to come off. I have a little container out in the garage that I put milk jug caps. I put the caps from water bottles. I don't believe in bottled water, but there are people who do. Pop bottle, the plastic pop bottles, green for Mountain Dew, and red for Coke, and all that. So you can, it's a little bit tidier to take the ring off. I'm not going to do all of this on camera. There's another one. Go. I have a little collection of red bits of plastic out there. There's another one. If it flies off, that's okay. You can pick it up later. Here's a couple more. Always cut away from yourself. Don't stab yourself. Be careful not to cut your fingers. A box knife is a good thing for this. And if you end up using a box knife, you end up cutting the milk jug. Who cares? You're going to be hacking them up into little pieces later. And so, yeah. So that's how we melt, or that's how we take the labels off of milk jugs. Oh, this one's got some schmutz on the outside. Let's go ahead and... Now that I've got the labels, I don't care if they get wet on the outside. There might be a little bit of sticky stuff left where the label was. Don't really care. It's going to end up melted into the plastic, and you probably won't even notice it. So yeah, that's how you take labels off of milk jugs so that you can later on melt them down into various kinds of objects. Thank you for watching today, and I guess we'll see you in the next video.